Paris Fashion Week used to be the pinnacle of luxury, the one place where fashion, status, and influence collided in the most elite way imaginable. But now, it's become a full-blown circus. Forget high fashion. This year, it was all about fake boobs on the runway, clout-chasing celebrities, AI-generated scandals, and live stream fights breaking out in broad daylight. Kim Kardashian stumbled onto the runway like she just rolled out of bed. Cardi B showed up with a live crow. Lauren Sanchez flaunted a $6,000 clutch shaped like a coffee cup. And somewhere in the chaos, an influencer nearly threw hands with a fan mid-live stream. Paris Fashion Week didn't just get weird, it got desperate. What was once an exclusive, invite-only spectacle has turned into a battlefield for celebrity relevance. Who's still iconic, and who's just embarrassing themselves trying to stay famous? Let's break down the messy downfall of Paris Fashion Week and the celebrities who just couldn't stay out of the drama. Kim Kardashian has spent years turning herself into a fashion icon, but at this year's Paris Fashion Week, she didn't look like the face of couture. She looked exhausted, out of place, and honestly, kind of over it. Walking the runway for Balenciaga should have been a moment. Instead, it turned into a meme. Her strut, if you can even call it that, was painfully slow, stiff, and awkward. She looked like someone trying to sneak through a hotel lobby at 2 a.m. without waking anyone up, barely moving, giving nothing, and visibly struggling under the weight of the over 250 carats of diamonds she was draped in. The crowd didn't seem impressed either. Faces were blank, phones were down. At one point, someone in the front row literally stared at their phone instead of watching her. And the internet? Absolutely ruthless. Comments poured in comparing her to a drunk mom trying to walk straight, a tired aunt at a wedding, and even someone sneaking into a continental breakfast. One Reddit user summed it up best. Why is she walking like that? The look is great, but the walk is not. People couldn't understand how someone with that much fame, money, and influence could look so unrefined. Kim, you're not doing amazing, sweetie, one user joked, a brutal twist on her mom's now infamous line. Another comment hit even harder. How does she have so much money and influence, yet makes everything appear so cheap? The truth is, Kim's runway moment wasn't just bad. It was a harsh reminder that even the most carefully crafted images can crack. Because behind the diamonds, the designer tag, and the body-hugging silhouette, Kim looked tired. Tired of performing, tired of pretending, and maybe, just maybe, tired of trying to keep up with the image she created. But if you thought her runway was awkward, just wait until you see what she got caught doing behind the scenes. You'd think someone like Kim Kardashian, billionaire, global celebrity, arguably one of the most Googled women on earth, wouldn't need to actually Google herself. But that's exactly what she did, in front of a camera, on purpose. During one of the behind-the-scenes segments at Paris Fashion Week, Kim was caught typing her name into Google. Not in private, not on a whim, but while cameras were rolling. And she wasn't searching for news or fact-checking something. She was scrolling through the latest images and headlines about herself. Her exact words? "I just want to see what they're saying." Seriously, for a woman with a full-time PR team, brand strategists, and assistants who monitor her public perception around the clock, the idea that she'd personally Google herself feels almost insecure. Or maybe it's even more calculated than we think. Was it genuine vanity? A weird habit? Or was she trying to be seen doing it, to feed the exact narrative we're talking about right now? Either way, people clocked it. Fast. Social media blew up with reactions. Some called it peak narcissism. Others found it sad, like watching a star slowly fade and start grasping at relevance. One tweet went viral. Imagine being that rich and still needing to know what strangers on the internet think about you. But there's a deeper irony here. For someone who claims to not read comments, not care about criticism, and not let the internet affect her, she sure seems very interested in public opinion. And watching her obsessively scroll through search results about herself just confirmed what many already suspected. Behind the diamonds and designer gowns, Kim Kardashian still deeply, desperately wants approval, even if she has to type her own name to find it. But wait, that wasn't even the most awkward moment of the week, because things got really tense when Kim came face-to-face with someone she's been beefing with for years, and they were both wearing the same brand. Leave it to Kim Kardashian to turn a purse into a full-blown internet conspiracy. At one of the Paris Fashion Week after-parties, Kim was spotted carrying what appeared to be a one-of-a-kind, diamond-encrusted, metallic silver Hermes Birkin bag. The kind of bag you don't just buy, you inherit. Instantly, people online started asking the same question. Where did she even get that? Because this wasn't just a rare bag. It was a never-before-seen design. And according to some fashion insiders, it's valued at nearly $10 million. But here's where it gets weird. That exact bag had been rumored for years. Whispered about in fashion circles, allegedly custom-made for a royal family member in the Middle East. It was never supposed to be seen in public. Some say it wasn't even supposed to leave the vault. So how did Kim get her hands on it? Some believe she rented it. Others are convinced it's a fake, a high-end replica made just to stir buzz. But the most unhinged theory, that the bag was loaned to her by a secret investor trying to raise the price of Birkins on the resale market by making them go viral. Fashion Twitter went full detective mode, freeze-framing the bag, zooming in on stitching, comparing it to old Hermes lookbooks. Some even claimed the diamonds were too perfect, possibly lab-grown, which, if true, would mean the bag isn't authentic, but a very expensive flex gone wrong. And let's talk PR, because whether the bag was real, fake, or borrowed, it worked. Kim's Birkin moment dominated headlines more than the actual shows. It hijacked the Fashion Week narrative and made everyone, even fashion purists, talk about her. But here's the kicker. When asked about the bag in a backstage interview, Kim refused to comment. Just smiled, shrugged, like she wanted the mystery to spiral, like she knew the value of the not knowing. And that's the genius. Or maybe the desperation. But while everyone was obsessing over the bag, they missed the biggest red flag of all. Kim's icy run-in with someone she used to call a fashion icon, and now won't even look at. You'd think a wedding attended by billionaires and A-listers would be all smiles, champagne, and perfectly filtered selfies. But Kim Kardashian, she brought the drama, and not even for the bride. Sources say Kim had an actual meltdown at Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's Venice wedding. And the reason? Sydney Sweeney. Yep, the rising Hollywood it girl, who's been stealing roles, magazine covers, and apparently Kim's thunder. Here's what went down. According to multiple insiders, Sydney was seated at one of the prime tables near Leonardo DiCaprio and Beyoncé, while Kim, despite her mega celebrity status, was pushed off to the side. Not exactly peasant seating, but definitely not the inner circle. And let's be real, Kim doesn't do second tier. What made it worse? Sydney was getting all the attention. Photographers kept swarming her. Reporters were hounding her with questions. A top fashion editor was overheard calling Sydney the new face of luxury. And apparently, that was Kim's breaking point. Eyewitnesses say she stormed off mid-reception, visibly upset, phone in hand, talking to someone from her team. She left early and didn't post a single photo from the event. Not one. Which, for Kim, is unheard of. No Instagram post? That's basically a social media protest. The internet quickly picked up on it. Fans speculated that Kim was furious about being overshadowed. Some even joked that Sydney Sweeney ended Kim K's influencer reign in a single night, wearing a backless satin dress and no effort. And while Sydney has remained quiet about the whole thing, Kim's silence was louder than any clapback. No public comment, no denial, just vanishing from the narrative. But here's the real kicker. People close to Kim say she's been deeply insecure about her place in Hollywood lately. With younger stars rising fast and the influencer world shifting toward Gen Z aesthetics, the queen of selfies is struggling to stay culturally relevant. The Bezos wedding wasn't just a party, it was a spotlight. And this time, it wasn't pointed at Kim. But that wasn't even the most humiliating part of her week, because right after that meltdown, she had to face someone she's had beef with for years. Right on the front row of fashion's most exclusive show. Just when you thought Paris Fashion Week couldn't get more absurd, Lauren Sanchez waltzes in with a $6,000 clutch shaped like a coffee cup and starts playing the role of billionaire bride, like she's in a Netflix mockumentary. Yes, you read that right. A $6,000 Judith Lieber coffee cup purse, bedazzled with crystals, carried like it was the Holy Grail. And that wasn't even the most cringe part of her appearance. Lauren didn't just attend Paris Fashion Week, she tried to own it. Between aggressively posing for cameras like she was auditioning for a Vogue cover and loudly telling people, "This week is all about fun and fantasy," she gave off serious Real Housewives energy. Only this time, she's married to one of the richest men on earth, and still acting like she needs to be seen. Fashion insiders were not impressed. One stylist reportedly called her look desperate cosplay, while another guest was overheard saying, "Who invited the bride of Amazon?" Ouch. But Lauren didn't stop there. At one high-profile show, she allegedly tried to cut the front row line, demanding to sit next to Anna Wintour, who, by the way, ignored her completely. Sources say security had to politely escort her to her assigned seat, far from the Vogue Queen Bee. It didn't help that Lauren kept gushing loudly about her wedding diet, making people uncomfortable as she detailed her $3,000 per day meal plan, her IV drip routines, and how fasting sharpens your aura, whatever that means. At this point, people couldn't tell if she was trying to be relatable or just rubbing her billionaire lifestyle in everyone's face. Either way, it didn't land, especially when her fashion choices felt more like cosplay than couture. Critics online lit her up, calling her the poster child for money can't buy style, and comparing her presence at Paris Fashion Week to a tourist crashing a royal banquet. Even loyal Jeff Bezos fans were squirming. It's one thing to be glamorous, it's another to be this thirsty for attention. And while Lauren was busy flaunting her coffee cup clutch and crashing the fashion elite's party, someone else was quietly plotting a viral fashion moment that would leave both Kim and Lauren in the dust. If there was one person at Paris Fashion Week who tried way too hard to make a comeback, it was Rinna. She strutted into town like it was still 2007, and the paparazzi owed her something. Drenched in black latex from head to toe and throwing around fake smiles like confetti, Lisa acted like this was her Hollywood redemption arc. Only it felt more like a midlife crisis in designer heels. Let's be honest, Rinna's whole brand has been chaos. From her soap opera days to being Bravo's resident villain on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, she's always thrived on drama. But in Paris, it didn't land at all. Fashion critics called her looks overdone and out of touch, with one insider saying, "It's giving budget Madonna meets Party City." Yikes! And then came the moment everyone couldn't stop cringing over. The red carpet performance. Rinna showed up at the Mugler show, struck a dramatic pose, and let out a weird, slow-motion mwah kiss into the air, followed by a twirl that ended in a hair flip, aimed directly at a camera that wasn't even rolling. It was supposed to be fierce. It was pure TikTok mom energy. Social media had a field day. Clips of her over-the-top posing went viral for all the wrong reasons. Comments ranged from, "Lisa Rinna is what happens when your publicist quits," to "somebody tell her it's not Halloween." But what really set people off? Her attempt to align herself with Gen Z culture? Rinna tried dropping phrases like slay, vibe check, and it's giving boss energy, all in one interview. At one point, she told a reporter, "This look? It's giving billionaire mistress meets Matrix? Slay, right?" "No, Lisa, it's giving confusion." Even longtime fans were secondhand embarrassed, saying she looked more like someone's mom trying to sneak into a TikTok house party than a fashion icon. But in true Rinna fashion, she clapped back. She posted an Instagram story saying, "Haters gonna hate. I was born for the spotlight." Which might have hit harder if the post didn't also include a weirdly filtered selfie and an AI-generated quote that wasn't even real. At this point, Lisa Rinna's appearance felt less like a comeback and more like a warning. And while Lisa was busy trying to reclaim fame, another fashion disaster was unfolding, this time with actual wings, feathers, and a bird named Dracula. Leave it to Cardi B to pull a comeback so chaotic it literally had wings. While most celebs were flexing couture and diamonds, Cardi showed up to Paris Fashion Week with a live crow. Yup, a real breathing bird, perched on her shoulder like she was some kind of high-fashion pirate crossed with Maleficent. Its name? Dracula. You can't make this up. The stunt was clearly designed to grab headlines. And it worked. Photos of Cardi and Dracula went viral before she even entered the show. But the internet wasn't sure whether to laugh, be impressed, or call PETA. According to insiders, the bird wasn't just for show. Cardi reportedly told a backstage interviewer, "He's my emotional support bird. He gets me, okay?" Which, in true Cardi fashion, blurred the line between sarcasm and serious. But then things got messy. During the Schiaparelli show, Dracula suddenly flapped his wings and squawked, right in the middle of the runway. The models froze. Security panicked. One editor literally spilled her champagne on Anna Wintour's shoe trying to dodge the bird. Cardi just giggled and said, "He's just excited for the drip." As if this was all totally normal, but animal rights activists weren't laughing. PETA called the stunt disturbing and tone-deaf, slamming Cardi for using a live animal as a clout accessory. even some fans turned on her, saying it felt more like a PR gimmick than a fashion statement. And to make things worse, another drama broke out in the front row, while Cardi was sitting just inches away. A wannabe influencer tried to film herself fake crying over Cardi's look, tagging it as inspired. Another guest called her out for being phony. Words were exchanged. Then, boom, someone slapped a phone out of someone's hand, and the whole front row turned into a full-blown TikTok battleground. Cardi just sat there sipping champagne, completely unfazed, like, "This ain't love and hip-hop, boo. This is Paris." Still, even with all the mess, the stunt kind of worked. Cardi was everywhere. Headlines, memes, edits, Twitter threads. The Crow may have stolen the show, but so did the controversy. And just when you thought things couldn't get more ridiculous, someone thought it was a great idea to show up dressed like a literal cockroach. If you thought Paris Fashion Week was about elegance and innovation, think again. This year's runway looked more like a bizarre Halloween party meets a plastic surgery expo. Designers went off the rails. We're talking inflatable abs, silicone boobs glued onto dresses, and even 3D printed muscles poking through mesh fabric. One model strutted down the runway wearing what looked like a full-body Instagram filter. Jawline sharp as a blade, abs that looked photoshopped in real life, and cheeks puffed up like she just walked out of a bad filler appointment. The audience? Stunned. Phones were up, mouths were open, and half the fashion critics were trying to figure out if this was high art or just high-key disturbing. But here's the twist. Some of those models weren't even real. A few of the show's faces were full-blown AI-generated avatars, walking via holographic projection created to promote post-human beauty. One brand even bragged that their look was inspired by deep-fake feminism. Whatever that means. People were horrified. Fashion fans called it a nightmare dystopia. Some insiders whispered that designers were mocking body culture on purpose. Others said it was all just a desperate cry for attention. But it wasn't just the weird costumes. Things got physically chaotic too. During one show, a model's silicone breastplate literally fell off mid-walk, clattering to the floor while gasps echoed through the room. Another model tripped over the trail of her 3D printed cyborg leg and face-planted right in front of Doja Cat, who tried so hard not to laugh but was clearly choking back a smirk. The grand finale, a performance artist covered in latex body mods and dripping motor oil stormed the stage yelling, "This is the future of fashion." Security rushed in. Guests scrambled. One front row editor left muttering, "I miss when couture was just feathers and crystals." Twitter exploded with hot takes. Some said Paris Fashion Week had officially gone off the deep end. Others praised the chaos, calling it fashion's punk rock moment. Either way, it was clear. This wasn't about elegance anymore. It was about shock, viral headlines, and who could make the biggest mess on purpose. But even with all this insanity, there was one more person who just had to top it all. And her name? Julia Fox. Just when you thought Paris Fashion Week couldn't spiral any further, two influencers threw hands on live stream in the middle of a fashion event. And yes, the whole thing was caught in 4K. It all went down outside the Balmain show, where TikTokers, Twitch streamers, and Instagram fashion critics were crammed together, desperately trying to go viral. But when two rival content creators, one known for fashion reviews, the other for reaction drama, crossed paths, it turned into a literal street brawl. It started with subtle shade. One streamer, we won't name names, but let's just say she's famous for her loud opinions and louder outfits, called the other a washed-up leech with zero style. The other fired back with, "At least I don't sell fake PR bags and pretend they're vintage." And boom. Chaos. Cameras were already rolling. Followers were spamming chat with "OMG fight" before it even escalated. Within seconds, purses were flying, security was yelling, and one poor guy in a Balenciaga poncho got completely drenched in someone's matcha latte. It was like a Real Housewives reunion, but with ring lights and live stream donations popping off in the corner. Clips of the scuffle hit TikTok within minutes. One video racked up over 12 million views overnight with the caption, "Paris Fashion Week turned into WWE real fast." But here's the thing. Some fans think the fight was staged. The angles were too clean. The timing, suspiciously perfect, and both streamers posted follow-up videos acting very unfazed, like they were more excited about the follower spike than the actual drama. Was it a PR stunt, a desperate bid for clout, or just another symptom of Paris Fashion Week turning into a digital circus? Either way, fashion editors were furious. One even tweeted, "We used to have McQueen. Now we have TikTokers screaming in front of Dior. Ouch! And yet, even with all the influencers fighting for screen time, there was still one chaotic queen who walked away with the weirdest look of the week. And yes, we're talking about Julia Fox. Paris Fashion Week 2025 wasn't a fashion event. It was a spectacle. What used to be the most exclusive gathering of fashion visionaries has officially turned into a viral battleground, where clout is the new couture and chaos is the real guest of honor. Kim Kardashian couldn't walk in heels. Lauren Sanchez brought a $6,000 coffee cup to flex for the paparazzi. Cardi B's crow upstaged every model. Influencers brawled mid-live stream. And somewhere in all of this, actual designers were trying to debut their collections, while being drowned out by TikTokers and billionaire drama. The saddest part? No one even talked about the clothes. This wasn't about fashion. It was about desperation. A desperate grasp for attention, relevance, and headlines in an era where being viral matters more than being visionary. Celebrities are no longer elevating fashion. They're hijacking it. So now the question is, can Paris Fashion Week be saved? Or has it become just another content farm feeding the influencer machine while the soul of fashion gets buried under brand deals and algorithm-chasing chaos? Because if this year proved anything, it's that fashion's biggest runway has turned into a red carpet of ridiculousness, and everyone's just watching, waiting to see who'll crash next.